Welcome to your personalized news report from PAL's Fundamentals. More episodes like this one are available on our YouTube channel, and the sources for this report are linked below.
Today we'll start with international news, focusing on Greenland and the EU.
Okay. Two Danish EU politicians recently visited Greenland?
Yeah, they're from the Renew Group.
Right. And the purpose of this visit?
Well, they acknowledge that the EU hasn't exactly prioritized Greenland in the past.
And so they're trying to mend relations.
Exactly. One of the politicians even suggested that rejoining the EU could benefit Greenland. If they ever chose to become independent.
Interesting. But he stressed that it's ultimately Greenland's decision.
Absolutely. The decision rests solely with the people of Greenland.
Of course. This visit is happening on the 40th anniversary of Greenland's exit from the EU's predecessor.
It's definitely an interesting time in global politics with all these power shifts happening.
Now shifting gears to the Faroe Islands.
The Faroes Union Party is advocating for a more modern relationship with Denmark.
So what are they asking for specifically?
Greater autonomy in areas like foreign policy and trade.
They want more control over their own affairs.
Exactly. Ultimately, they want to be able to make independent decisions on matters within their territory.
Including the potential for secession from the Kingdom of Denmark.
That's right. But Denmark has already agreed to give the Faroe Islands a greater international presence.
Like what?
Well, potential WTO membership, for example.
Okay. Let's move on to some local Faroes news.
Halt, Meg, a film directed by Maria Winter Olsen, just won the Gaëtan Award.
That's like the Faroes equivalent of an Oscar, right?
Exactly. And get this, the director was actually in Denmark when they announced it.
So how'd they tell her?
They called her live on stage during the awards ceremony.
Wow. What a moment.
The audience loved it.
I bet they did. Moving on, there's an interesting piece in the Vagaportaloran newspaper.
A reader submitted a poem that critiques the idea of the Faroe Islands joining the EU.
Interesting. What's their argument?
The poem draws parallels to the biblical stories of Babel and Beelzebub.
Yeah. And lastly, there's a new documentary that's sparking a lot of debate.
It focuses on Denmark's historical profits from cryolite mining in Greenland.
Profits. How much are we talking?
The documentary estimates that Denmark made around 400 billion DKT from the Avishitu mine.
Wow. In today's
Okay.
currency.
Yes. And the Greenlandic premier is questioning Denmark's narrative that Greenland is a financial burden.
Makes you think about the financial balance in the relationship, right?
Definitely. Considering both the historical profits and the current financial support. And in other news, former U.S. President Donald Trump spoke with Vladimir Putin.
Really?
About what?
About the war in Ukraine.
Interesting. And what did he have to say?
Well, Trump said he believes that Putin is sad about the loss of life.
Huh. And he also claimed that the war wouldn't have happened if he were still president.
Yeah, and he even suggested that he has a plan to end the conflict quickly.
Okay, so back to the documentary about Denmark's profits from cryolite mining in Greenland. Right, the documentary, which aired on DR, estimates that Denmark earned about 400 billion Danish kroner from the Evetut mine.
In today's currency.
Yes, which is a lot of money. And this has led the Greenlandic premier to question Denmark's narrative that Greenland is a financial drain.
I see. So cryolite was mined in Greenland.
Exactly, and it was a crucial component in the production of aluminum.
For what?
Well, for American warplanes during World War II.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's see. Halt. Meg, directed by Maria Winter Olsen, won the Gaëtan Award.
Yes, at a ceremony held in the Nordlandahuset.
And the director was in Denmark.
Right, so the presenters called her live on stage to tell her she won.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and in the Vagaportaloran newspaper.
A reader submitted a poem that criticizes the idea of the Faroe Islands joining the EU.
And they compared it to Babel and Beelzebub.
Right, and now shifting back to the Faroes Union Party.
They want to modernize their relationship with Denmark.
Yes, they're advocating for more autonomy and a more equal footing.
So they're asking for more control over their own affairs.
Exactly, particularly in areas like foreign policy and trade.
Right, and they've even mentioned the possibility of seceding from the Kingdom of Denmark.
True, but they still see value in remaining part of the kingdom.
Okay. So why don't we wrap things up with the weather forecast?
Sounds good. So for Sunday, February 9th, the midday report shows light winds, variable cloud cover, and a chance of scattered showers.
And what about the wind?
Winds are expected to shift from west to south in the afternoon, increasing to a moderate breeze overnight. Looking at the marine forecast, we have a high-pressure system over southern Norway.
And what does that mean for our area?
Well, it's bringing stable conditions to various areas.
Okay. And what about the wind?
Light winds shifting to a moderate southerly breeze and good visibility.
What about the Icelandic Ridge?
Easterly winds increasing to a fresh breeze overnight and into Monday morning, but good visibility there as well.
And what about the high-pressure system over southern Norway?
Well, it will likely continue to influence weather patterns here in the Faroe Islands.
So we can expect more stable conditions?
Yes, with light to moderate winds, variable cloud cover, and a chance of some scattered showers.
Right. Well, it's always good to be prepared for anything.
Absolutely, especially this time of year.
You know, it's always best to stay informed and be ready for anything, especially here in the Faroe Islands.
Oh, absolutely. The weather can change in an instant. The high-pressure system over southern Norway will likely continue to influence weather patterns here in the Faroe Islands throughout the week.
So we can expect more of the same?
Pretty much. We're looking at relatively stable conditions with light to moderate winds, variable cloud cover, and a chance of scattered showers here and there.
All right. Well, that wraps up the weather forecast.
And that brings us to the end of your Faroes News Report for today, February 9th, 2025.
We've covered quite a bit today, from international news about Greenland and the EU to local news about the Gaytan Awards, and even some thought-provoking poetry.
And of course, we can't forget about the comprehensive weather report.
If you'd like to explore any of these topics further, be sure to check out our YouTube channel, Pals Fundamentals, for more news reports like this one.
And as always, the sources for today's report are linked